Here we are. So, I've made a couple of false alarm attempts, but I think I have enough figured out to make this work. So, we're in my quote studio space, which is a little tiny room off of the dining room of my house where I sew. A long arm in a different room upstairs. But today what we're here to talk about is new beginnings. New beginnings, new year, 2018. Here we go. What I have found is that I like a clean slate and starting something new. And I like mystery quilts that give me a reveal of every block every week. And so that's the type of structure that I have. We've had 3 blocks start already on the mystery. It's called New Beginnings. And the new beginning is I'm trying Facebook Live for the first time today, as well as other new beginnings in life in trying to meet goals, be improved, do better. And I wanted to show some tips because New Beginnings is also for new quilters who are just starting out. We did this week a snowball block. The snowball is a connector block, and I like connector blocks. Sashing is something that I really, I like okay, but there's some problems keeping them straight when you're a beginner. And a long time ago, I got this really great book called It's Okay If You Sit on My Quilt Book by Mary Ellen Hopkins. And it's out of print, I do believe. But what I like is it's an idea book. It's not a pattern book. It doesn't tell you how to cut things out, tells you how to put a quilt together, but not in patterns. I've always been fascinated by snowballs and nines. A 9 patch and a humble snowball. It really is one of those things that is magic when you think about it. 2 very simple elements come together and make a great quilt. So we've had a snowball, the 9 patch, and the churn dash. So the 9 patch is a good practice on accuracy and 1/4 inch seam allowance. The method that we need to practice on for the snowball as well as the churn dash is the stitch and flip method. So I'm going to put the camera down and we're going to look at how to do the stitch and flip method for a triangle. So New Beginnings is the mystery quilt that has come out. We have 3 blocks into it and there's still plenty of time to catch up. So let me show you. I'm going to put the camera where you can see my workspace. And it didn't like that. So we'll rotate the device. Which is, tried to do that in the first attempt at a Facebook Live of rotating the device, and I didn't want to do it. So I'm finding that Facebook Lives are pretty interesting. There's a lot of improv that you have to do. So here is our snowball. Bear with me for one moment because I do believe that my tripod, there we go, needs a little adjustment here. And since this is my 3rd attempt at a Facebook Live, we're gonna make this work, and as I get going and I learn how to do it, production will get better. So the snowball block, you can tell, is a white square in this particular instance with blue on the corners. But why is it called stitch and flip? Well, we have this triangle that is on the corner that is stitched and flipped over. But how do you do it? We start with, I'm going to demonstrate with a 4 patch that I had from a previous project, but this would make a fun snowball block too. So where do we start? In the mystery quilt, you're going to take a square. And I mark the diagonal. You can use a silver, this is a very old pencil, but it's called a Quilter's silver pencil. I like it because it shines. Or you can use your Ticonderoga. And mark your diagonal. Left-handed, so if you think that the camera's flipped, no. The other part is, what do you do then? Is we want to make sure that when we put our square on the corner, that this is in fact put on here so that the angle is always this way. Now, we need to sew directly on the line that we drew. How simple is that? Then we take and we rotate the black to show you how I've already sewn it. I've sewn it right on the diagonal. I flipped it and I pressed it with a hot iron. Then I come back. When I open it up, and then I will take my ruler, which has a 1/4 inch seam, 1/4 inch marking, and I lay that right directly on. And then I take my rotary cutter and I cut off those little pieces. Stitch and flip, that simple. So when you're done, you will have these beautiful, perfectly placed triangles. So with the other part we have to be sure when you're done is I have a square up ruler. And I like putting the square up ruler to where I know this is straight on the white and straight on the white here. I can also line it up. A lot of times I use my rotary cutting mat's lines, and you can find this diagonal line, and you can see that I've already squared this up. A lot of times when you do this, they're going to be wonky. So cut along. I'm left-handed, and I actually am a little ambidextrous, so I will actually flip. You know, sometimes you could get a rotating map that helps. So that's the snowball block. We use the same method in the churn dash, and I want to show you how this is going to work. So far we know that we have a snowball connector block and a churn dash. Let me open it up. And eye patch. Do you see some magic happening here? With the snowball blocks, I chose dark and a really bright contrasting color. And when you look at this, you see a tiny little star happening in these pieces. So stay tuned for the mystery. And you can see, I will deconstruct this just a little bit. We have a square, we have a half square triangle in the corner, and we have these logs. This particular half square triangle I chose to do in a different method. And I'm going to show you that on the next Facebook Live, how to make a half square triangle. They really are not hard to make, but they take a little bit of drawing lines, squaring up, and we'll talk about that next week. I want to thank you for joining me in my first inaugural Facebook Live. Feel free to send any comments, questions, or if you have any problems with the patterns that are online. Like I said, if you would like a PDF printable version of the free pattern, then sign up for my newsletter. That's on the WordPress page, mycreativecorner3.wordpress.com. I also have a podcast, and that will be posting, I think, later on today. And you can see behind me, that is a very special quilt. Look at all those beautiful little pieces. I'll be talking more about that in the next week to come. It's going to it's a donation quilt, and there's a big story with it. And we'll talk about that more as I get them done, because I have 2 of them. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day today. I happen to have the day off, and I'm going to spend the day doing what I love the most, and that is quilting.